Good morning and welcome to the July 25th, 2019 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting. If any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item on the agenda today, there are speaker request forms to the left of the dais. Please fill out the request with the agenda number of the item you wish to speak to and hand it to the secretary. At this time, we would also like to ask that if any member of the audience has a cell phone or other electronic device, please either turn it off or turn the ringer to silent. If you need to take a call, please step out to the hallway so the meeting is not disrupted. The public hearing on item number 1, the approval of the June 20th, 2019 Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting minutes, is hereby opened. All right, Rachel made the motion to approve the meeting minutes. And Karen seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2.
Thank you. Item number 2 is 19 VA005, a variance request to reduce a side yard setback from 8 feet to 5 feet for an accessory structure. The subject property is approximately 0.24 acres in size in a zoned medium density residential district, and it's also part of the Canyon Lake overlay. This is an aerial view of the property here showing the existing single-family residence and then multiple accessory buildings located on the southwest side of the lot. Future land use for the property identifies it as urban neighborhood. And on the city's major street plan, 6th Avenue is identified as a local street. This is the site plan that was submitted with the application, and specifically the applicant is requesting to construct a 520 square foot garage over an existing concrete slab at the end of his driveway. There's an existing single family home on the lot, and then as I noted, multiple accessory structures on the back side of the lot. The slab itself, as I mentioned, is 520 square feet. The setback that is requested is for a 5-foot side yard setback in lieu of 8 feet required. This is a detached structure. If you notice, there's a 3-foot gap between the proposed garage and the existing single-family house. As an attached garage, it would meet the 8-foot required setback. Additionally, the garage could be sized down. It's currently 20 feet wide. If it were 17 feet wide, it would comply with that side yard setback. The lot is larger than an average single-family residence lot, and as such, this is not the minimum adjustment necessary or required to provide reasonable use on the lot, given that the applicant has multiple accessory structures and that the garage either could be relocated or scaled down to comply with that 8-foot side yard setback. And as such, staff would recommend denial of the variance request to reduce the side yard setback from 8 feet to 5 feet.
Thanks, John. Question?
Sorry, I got 2 more. These are the elevations that the applicant submitted with the application, showing the garage and again showing that distance between the house and the garage. There is a wood stove that's located on the east end of the house, and that's part of the reason the applicant has requested to detach that garage, just for the hassle that would go into that as an attached structure. But you can see then the distance between the garage and the side yard on the side lot line. And I was able to visit the site and take a couple photos. This is the existing single-family residence, looking at it from the street. This is a view back to the south along 6th Avenue. View across the street to the east. View to the north. And then this is looking at that existing concrete slab where the applicant would like to build the proposed garage, and showing that distance then between the house, and you can see the wood stove column there as well. And as mentioned, staff would recommend denial of the variance request to reduce the side yard setback from 8 feet to 5 feet, citing criteria number 3, that it is not the minimum adjustment necessary. At this time, staff would be available for questions, and I believe the applicant is also in the audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Any commissioners have questions or comments on this item as presented? I'm not seeing any lights up. Karen?
Thank you. In looking at this property and the request, it seems like there are several options that can happen. I mean, he can make the garage smaller and comply. He could move it back because it is a larger lot. I don't see any hardship that's there. I mean, I understand the reason for putting it on the concrete slab, it's already there, but I don't see a hardship as compared to some other places where the land is locked or something like that. So my recommendation would be to deny, and I will make that motion.
Okay, Karen made the motion to deny the variance request based on that criteria that it is not the minimum adjustment necessary for
Thank you.
reasonable use of the lot.
That's right.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Vince seconded the motion. Any other comments, questions on the motion? Galen?
Maybe a question for staff or for the applicant. It looked like it said it was a carport previously. Would it be possible to rebuild it as a carport, or is that, would you still need the adjustments to rebuild it as a carport?
Correct. I do understand that it was a carport before. I'll actually let the applicant come up there if you'd like to come up. He can explain the history on it.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
In answering Galen's question, the answer would be yes. The carport would be considered a structure as well, and it would also need to meet the 8-foot setback.
Okay.
Yes, I'm Larry Wright. I purchased the property. It was a fire trap, a horrible place in the neighborhood, dangerous. I dismantled it, tore it down, built that place myself. I've been involved in building all my life, and I know about structures and concrete. There is no other place I can put it. I can't put it in back. There's no feasible way of putting it in back. There's a big, huge tree stump I'd have to dig up. It's not stable ground. The place where it's at, the concrete slab, the 20 by 26, is a stable slab that's been there forever. It's never moved. And my plan was I talked to a civil engineer. He said that's the best place to put it. And I was going to follow the directions of the building codes. The people that guide you on how to build stuff, they're great people. And I was going to use the 6/8 on-center piers, the raised edges, and then pour the slab later. It'd be totally solid. And 17 foot for a garage. It just isn't adequate. It wouldn't look good. It wouldn't work well. I have to have a place to put my wife's car in because the hail just beats it up. I like to put my table saw back in there. Then one of the comments in their rejection was that it poses a fire threat to the house next door. Well, the house would be 22 foot from my proposed building area, the 5 foot. And if you follow the building codes, the garage is not going to be a fire hazard. I even suggested steel studs. They rejected that, but according to code, you don't even need steel studs. You can frame with wood. And by the time you get done building and constructing your garage, you put 5/8 sheetrock and insulation. And I don't know if you've ever been to fires or demoed houses that have been burned. If they have sheetrock, it stops fire. And this is the only place I can build it. I need that, and it'll improve the area. That place was a horrible, some horrible property, and I have improved it greatly. I just need to finish it. And that structure behind there, it's going to go. It's not going to be there. The other ones were existing, and I just have tools. That thing can go. It's no problem. And I just got some good news from the city. I just got hired on the Parks Department part-time. I'll get to work till after Christmas, and I'll probably be able to work with the city for 8 months. I needed that, and I really thank the city for that. It's such a great opportunity. It's going to help me immensely. But what I also need to do is to finish my garage. And the people here have constantly rejected it. It's not going to help them one way or the other. It's only going to benefit me. And I've always helped people in the neighborhood. When the fire happened across the street where 4 people died, my son and I were the first responders. We were over there getting people out of that building. During the Rapid City flood, my brother and I were out getting people out of trees, hauling people to the hospital using a door off a trailer house that we ripped off for a stretcher. This city's done a lot for me, but I've always been loyal to Rapid City. And I really need this approved.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
mean, I'm gonna do a perfect job, follow all the codes, but a 17-foot garage is, to have other people tell you have to have that, I mean, I can't build anything then. The 20-foot garage is not gonna hurt anybody. It's a long distance to the next house. I've talked to the building people, they said there's no problem. And if I had to do the seal studs, that's fine, but there's no fire hazard. And the structure that was there before there was a carport, poorly built, and in the back it had kind of a storage building that running the full length. And I tore all that down, and that thing never caused a fire. And this concrete slab, it's the most stable thing. It's never moved. I can't build it anywhere else. I don't want to attach it to the house because I've got windows, 2 windows in the basement. I need ventilation. I got a window on the side, just one in the front to look out towards the south. I need that. So that's, and going backwards, it's just, there's no stable place to build it. And that other building, the accessory building, is going to be gone. I'll demo it. All the other stuff was existing. So, I mean,
Thank you, Mr. Wright. I got a couple of commissioners that might have questions for you here. Really appreciate your comments, though. Eric?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I can certainly appreciate what you're willing to do for this, but I agree with Karen that there's no direct outside hardship to this area. The rest of the structures in the area do not have garages adjacent to your property. So, yes, it would improve the area, but it would be nothing. It would. The rest of the structures, the houses in the area, are similar to yours. The other thing is even though you say you can't do anything with 17-foot wide garage, you could also build a single-car garage or an elongated car garage that houses 2 cars instead of just one. But in short, I agree with Karen. There's still no outright hardship to this to approve this variance. So I would recommend denial as well at this point.
first of all, that wouldn't work as well. It just wouldn't work that well. And a lot of the houses in that whole area, Cottonwood, a lot of those places are poorly constructed places. Mine doesn't compare to them. I'd build a properly well-built house that's helped the area, looks good, and I need that 20 by 24, 26, whatever it is.
Okay.
There's
Galen?
no other place to feasibly build it. I don't know what to do then.
Well, thanks for explaining the situation there. I tend to be sympathetic for people that want to improve their property, especially rebuilding better things where older things used to be. So I would tend to support this, especially given that, you know, he plans on getting rid of the accessory structures behind the garage that are, you know, legal, non-conforming, or whatever the correct terminology is there. But if we don't build that, if he doesn't build that garage, you're still going to have a structure that's within 5 feet of the lot line. So what does it matter if it's, would you rather have an old accessory structure or a new nice looking garage there? If you've got, you're going to have a building that's 5 foot off the lot line either way.
Well, that old,
I'd rather have him build a new garage. And
well, that old building is going to, that building that's behind there is going to go.
exactly.
And the ones that are in the very corner were existing. You know, they're just for tools and storage. And yeah, I was willing to tear that down. It's a 120 square foot. It doesn't matter to me. I was planning on taking it down so it wouldn't be in the way. I still need the 20 by 26 to build a garage. It has to be right. I'm sorry.
Okay. Justin?
Thanks. So just for clarity, the existing slab's a driveway, correct?
Pardon me?
The existing slab is the driveway.
Well, the slab is behind the driveway. The driveway I poured, and the existing slab is west of there.
Well, okay.
Yeah, and then it's like 6 foot from the driveway. So all I have to do is build on top of that, and it'd be so much easier. And I build a lot of stuff. I know what the best thing to do is.
But you're, okay, so I guess again, for my clarification, you're saying you'll build a new, but putting on a reinforced slab on grade with piers 6 foot on grade. So you're gonna put piers in and a new reinforced slab?
Well, it has to be poured on top of that slab. You have to do the piers around, do the cutout for the front door, the garage door, one in back. But, and I don't want to tear that thing out. I'd have to tear it, it would, to go farther back, it would just be a horrible job. I could pour the reinforced slab on top that I proposed, and then I got 6 foot of concrete in front of it to finish it out. I don't have a lot of money. And without finishing it out, my house is just not worth much money.
I understand that. It seems to me like you're doing a new foundation with piers.
Well, the foundation is on top of the existing slab. What you do is you leave that slab and you put a cap on top of it, but you still have to put the piers around.
To support the new reinforced slab.
Yeah, to pour on top. And I've built a lot of things. I've done a lot of concrete work. I even worked in other states and built stores, and so I know what I'm
I can
doing.
appreciate that. I guess my comment is you're pouring a new foundation anyway. So that work's being done regardless. So location is relevant, but not the end all. So you can adjust the location because to me it seems like you're putting in new piers and a new slab anyway.
I think a lot of people don't understand. I can't build it in another place. I have to build it on there.
Okay.
I can't build it behind.
Well, I
It's
haven't
unstable ground.
viewed your site, so I don't know all the details. I just think you're not using the existing slab as the only foundation. You're putting a new foundation around it and on top of it.
It goes on
Correct.
top of it.
So you
The
could
piers are
theoretically.
the piers just go around the periphery of the building. They just go down to reinforce it. That's just code.
I understand that.
But
You
and
could
the
adjust
cap
it.
goes on top of that.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood. You're pouring piers and a new slab to support the structure. You're just placing it on top of an existing slab, as opposed to sliding
I
it.
can't build it on top of the existing slab. The slab is to be left there because it's a stable piece of concrete. It still has to have a cap on top. That's how you build driveways on something like that, or garage footings.
I understand, but you're putting in new piers for a foundation.
Well, you have to have piers to meet code. The
Thanks.
piers are something you have to put down
Okay, thank you.
to reinforce it as far as the ground is concerned. It has to go down 42 inches.
Okay, thanks.
And
Kurt, do you have a question or comment?
If you could leave that site plan up there. It looks to me like, you got 3 feet between that. Is that like a block out on the house for a chimney? So you got 3 feet. It looks to me like you could shift that over. I read in the report that, that was a hardship of putting a foundation next to the house, and after what Justin has been saying, you're going to have to do some of that anyway. So to me, it looks like you could slide that thing over another 3 feet and have your 8-foot setback on that side yard. So, I guess since you have to pour anyway and put a foundation in, if you moved it 3 feet, you said you had window wells and stuff in that, on that side of the house, but they'd still have a 3 foot between the garage and the house. I know 6 foot would be ideal, but 3 foot looks like you could make that work.
well, I'm the builder, and I know that area is not as stable. That's fill. And the best way is to build it on that slab, and I know more about building. I know that the most solid place to put it is on top of that and there's not really enough room. The way it is, I have room to walk through there. And that fireplace that I built, or the wood stove, is a Class A Chase. I build those things out of steel studs. That thing heats my house. Then I got one in the back, all inspected, and I have to keep those. I can't just tear it out.
Okay.
And the way it is, if you would look at it, and you knew about concrete and building, that's the place to build it. There's only one place to build it, the 20 by 26 slab.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, there's no reason to even try. Then the 17-foot isn't very big. I mean, why? I mean, the 5 foot's not going to hurt anything. It does not pose a threat to fire hazard. It's not a hazard to the adjoining building on the south, which is 22 feet away from that proposed area. I mean, I don't know. I just know what's best.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. The motion on the floor from Karen is seconded by Vince to deny the reduced setback in this case. Are there further comments on that, questions? Okay. We'll take a vote then. All those in favor of denial of the setback, please say aye. 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 Opposed? All right, the denial carries with Galen as a no.
So I'm denied?
Yes.
I came here with the feeling I'd get approved. It's amazing, but none of you people,
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
it's just unbelievable. It's not your place, it's my place.
We don't have any other items in front of us on the zoning board. I'd look for a motion to adjourn that and move to the planning commission meeting. Mike Gallagher motion for adjournment. Second. Rachel seconded that. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. We will now commence the Rapid City Planning Commission meeting for July 25th, 2019. Again, if any member of the audience wishes to speak to an item, please fill out a speaker request form and hand it to the staff along the left wall. And if you have a cell phone or other electronic device, please keep it silent, or if you need to take a call or communicate, do it in the hallway. Items 1 through 12 have been placed on the consent calendar and may be approved as a group. Action will be taken on all consent items in accordance with staff's recommendation by a single vote. Any item may be removed from the consent calendar by any planning commissioner, staff member, or audience member for separate consideration at this time. The findings of this planning commission are recommendations to the city council. The city council will make the final decision with the exception of the following items. Item 6, 19 UR 012. Item 7, 19 PD 026. Item 9, 19 PD 027. Item 10, 19 PD 029, and Item 12, 19 UR 014. The Rapid City Planning Commission's actions on these items are final unless any party appeals that decision to the Rapid City Council. All appeals must be submitted in writing to the Department of Community Development by the close of business on the 7th full calendar day following action by the Planning Commission. Are there any items 1 through 12 that staff would like removed?
No, thank you.
Any items 1 through 12 that any planning commissioner would like removed?
Number 6, please.
Number 6. And are there any items 1 through 12 that any audience member would like removed for separate consideration?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can we remove 10 and 11, please?
You bet. Okay, any audience members have any items they would like removed for separate consideration? The chair would then look for a motion to approve the consent calendar with the items 1 through 12 in accordance with staff's recommendation, with the exception of item 6, item 10, and item 11. All right, Karen made that motion, and Mike Gallagher seconded that motion. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6.
I just need to abstain from the vote,
Okay.
so.
I'd then look for a motion to approve item number 6 per staff recommendation. Mike Gallagher made that motion. And Mike Quasny seconded that motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries with Justin's abstention. Item number 10.
I just had a question concerning, as I was reading through this, on page 1, it talks about 13 apartment buildings with 172 units. And then on page 4, then it's talking about 76 townhome lots, 24 in the final phase, for a total of 152 units. Am I missing something? Was there a change to that? This is basically to staff.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Vicki.
Yeah, so if you continue reading that next sentence, we cite the history of what's previously happened on property in our general information, and it notes in there that the applicants have redesigned this Tract L. They no longer want to do apartments, they now want to do townhomes. But we wanted to remind you that it wasn't that long ago you did approve a plan development for apartments. And concerned that some of you might remember that and say, well, what happened to the apartments? We just wanted to make sure that you were aware that, yes, you did do it, but they've redesigned the site and now they're doing townhomes.
Okay. Also, to tag along, I see that we're kind of doing an average size for the lot sizes. So there was no way that could be more equitably spread out per lot size?
So within the, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair.
Vicki, please.
So within the townhome provision of our ordinance, there isn't actually a minimum lot size requirement for townhomes. It's a density requirement of 4,000 square feet. So if you look at some townhomes where they'll be in a row and they'll be sitting on a large parcel, you can do what's known as a townhome development lot, where you would buy the individual unit and a percentage of the common area. And that's how our ordinance was created, because back in the day, that's how most townhomes came in. So that part of the ordinance stays today. The difference is these homes each are on an individual lot with their own green space around them. And so the average is being met. We're asking for the exception that each individual lot wouldn't have the 4,000, but on average, they're close to 5,000 for density. So it meets with the terrain, the provisions of trying to do the street connections, and with the linear footage along those streets. 11 of those lots are a little smaller, but a majority of them are considerably larger.
Thank you.
Good questions.
No more questions on number 10.
Okay. Look for a motion then to approve number 10 with staff's recommendations. All right, Karen made that motion, and Rachel seconded it. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item number 11.
Okay. On this, on the plot shows some area that's going to be used for employment. What exactly is meant by that?
Mr. Chair? So the current future land use plan identifies this portion of Orchard Meadows as appropriate for employment. Employment is your typical office commercial district. Currently in office commercial, you can do anything residential, and that would allow senior housing, which is what this applicant wants to do. He wants to create a senior living community. We talked about it internally. At first, they were going to rezone it to office commercial, which would be in line with the future land use plan. But we're looking at amending our permitted uses within office commercial, removing most of the residential uses. In other words, if you want to do something residential, you should be zoned residential. If you want to do something commercial, you should be zoned commercial. And in this case, the appropriate zoning would be medium-density residential. We had an internal meeting on it with the future land use planners. They concurred. In our next periodic update of the future land use plan, we'll be making the amendment to show this designation as urban neighborhood. So you may have caught in the report that it said that after we do that periodic update, this will be in compliance. We don't want the applicants to have to do a change to the future land use plan every time they come in with something that is not directly in alignment with it. We don't want our future land use plan to function as another rezone layer. We want it to set aside and be separate. So in this case, the medium-density residential to allow the senior living community would be a use that would otherwise be identified in employment as it stands today.
But until that is approved, we still are under the definition for medium residential, which does not allow commercial use at this point in time, correct?
And they are not proposing commercial. It would be, and remember, right now, you can do residential in office commercial. Office commercial is identified as a preferred zoning designation in the employment, but noting that we are going to be bringing forward an ordinance amendment in the near future, staff made the determination that instead of coming back and then later potentially rezoning this to MDR in line with removing residential from office commercial, the better option would be to rezone it medium-density residential today, which the use as proposed would be permitted in both office commercial and medium-density residential, regardless of the change in the future land use plan, because senior housing is permitted in both office commercial and medium-density residential. So trying to avoid yet another application and clearly define where we want residential and where we feel it's appropriate to have commercial, the determination was made to visit with the applicant, have them rezone this to medium-density residential, and then to put in the report that staff concurs with that, and we will be bringing forward a change to the future land use map in our next periodic update.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions that I had. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Vicki. Is there a motion then on item number 11? Oh, Rachel, sorry.
I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to say that this project makes me really excited. Just because you have such a mix of different purposes of land use. You know, it's a much more walkable community. You have connected green space, which is better for wildlife. I think it's really, you know, I don't know. I just had to say I'm really excited about this.
Excited enough to make a motion?
Sure.
All right. Awesome.
Second.
Okay, Mike Quasny seconded that motion. Any further discussion on item number 11? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 13.
Morning. The applicant is requesting that item number 13, 19 VR 003 be continued to the August 8th Planning Commission meeting.
Okay. All right, Karen made the motion to continue, and Kurt seconded that motion to continue to August 8th. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 14.
Item number 14 is 19 UR 013, a major amendment to a conditional use permit to allow an on-sale liquor establishment in conjunction with a sign shop. Its description of it would be, it's called Board and Brush Creative Studio. It's where people can go to make their own signs, artistic, creative, craft signs. Property is located at 705 Indiana Street. It's zoned general commercial district. We do have low density residential district to the east and medium density to the northeast, but it's on the periphery of a commercial corridor that is adjacent to Mount Rushmore Road. There is an existing commercial structure with 2 suites on it on the property. The first suite is occupied by a casino with an on-sale liquor establishment. And then we have single-family homes to the east and more commercial uses to the west and north and south. Future land use, and you can see the Mount Rushmore Road to the west. This is on the edge of that corridor. And again, major street plan. So layout of a lot of crafting tables. The applicant's proposing to serve beer and wine to customers during workshops and private events. Their hours of operation are just Friday and Saturday from 5 to 9 p.m. with additional hours for private events. So that would be something like a birthday party or a wedding rehearsal type thing where they come and craft. So private events and then very limited hours. So one of our stipulations of approval is that they operate in compliance with their operations plan. If they want to expand the hours or expand the use, they'll have to come through for a major amendment. Site plan with the parking, landscape plan. Sorry, the laptop's running a little bit slow. Looking at the building and to the north and west, signage. This is adjacent property to the south and looking back towards south and west. Looking to the south along the street, which is the dividing line between the residential and the commercial in this area, and to the north. And then these are the single-family residences that are directly east of the property. I think based on their operations plan, it should have a minimal impact on the residential uses in the area. And with that, staff is recommending that the major amendment be approved with stipulations noted in the staff report.
Thanks, Fletcher. Karen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question, the application, I don't have any issue with that. My question really goes to the landscaping. Prior to this application, when we approved the casino that went in there, I thought the landscaping had some trees that were supposed to be along the street side. Do you remember, Vicki?
It does appear that
Oh, sorry.
this is the approved landscape plan, so it does identify trees along that 7th Street
So,
boulevard.
so does that mean somebody's going to put those trees in?
Mr. Chair,
Vicki?
so the quick answer is yes. Their landscaping has to be maintained in compliance with the previously approved site plan. And certainly if they're not there today, then the property owner needs to be put on notice. Potentially, this tenant is not responsible for it, but we do know the property owner. We can certainly let him know that he's missing some trees.
Thank you. I didn't drive by there, so I didn't have any issue. And then when I saw the pictures, I went, wait a minute, what happened to the trees? Okay.
And unfortunately, when they plant them and they're that close to the right-of-way, many times they're replaced when snow removal causes them to fail to continue to grow the following spring. So we have small trees for a period of time, and we may have missed that we didn't have small trees there. We, in fact, had no trees there, so we can certainly visit with the property owner.
I'm surprised the lady across the street didn't make a comment. She was made a lot of comments before. So thanks, I'm glad we caught that so we can get those trees in. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you.
And Fletcher.
Vince?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question on this sign pole that I noticed. It looks like it's inoperable. Was there any plans to take that down or do away with it? I can ask if the...
I'm not aware. It's existing signage. It was approved through the previous conditional use permit. I don't know how it's not operable, but
Yeah. Well, okay, so they're, obviously, they're going to be able to continue to use that within the restraints of the code.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Vicki?
Vince, that's really a good comment. So the property owner at one time used the entire building as a casino, and obviously he's letting other tenant uses in there. I am sure he'll maintain that pole, and hopefully as he has tenants in there for long periods of time or changing over the years, those individual businesses will be reflected on that pole.
Okay, thank you.
One more for staff here. The original casino use was kind of a controversial one when it came here. Have there been any issues with the alcohol use at that location? Because that was one of the flashpoints, if I remember right.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
so for those of you on the Planning Commission that aren't aware, this actually ended up, the city got sued over this one by the property owner. The original conditional use permit upon the last application was denied, and the courts determined that it was the appropriate location based on the criteria set forth for review. And as a part of that, the last site plan that was submitted, whatever that happened to be, is what the courts deemed we had to allow to be developed. So that was very creative. We did have some neighbors, and Karen remembers them well, that lived directly across the street, and they diligently came to every meeting to voice concern. I am not aware of any concerns, calls, or complaints from the neighborhood regarding this use. It has low traffic, and I must say the property owner does maintain a good site.
Good. Excellent. All right, any other questions or comments on this one? If not, I'd look for a motion. All right, Rachel made the motion to approve with staff stipulations. And Mike Goller seconded that motion. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 15.
Item number 15 is 19 PD 028, a final plan development overlay to allow an oversized garage. Property is located at 1408 Panorama Circle. In particular, the applicant is proposing to construct a 1,344 square foot detached garage on the property. It's in a low-density residential neighborhood, and that brown is general ag, and it's a drainage and common use area, which would be directly east of this property. There's an existing single-family home with an attached garage located on the property. The attached garage is 805 square feet, so the total garage area will exceed the maximum allowed 1,500 square feet by approximately 649 square feet. The applicant is requesting two exceptions. One, to allow a height of 16 feet 8 inches in lieu of the maximum allowed height of 15 feet for an accessory structure. And then the second exception is to waive the requirement to provide hard surfacing on the first 50 feet of the driveway, which is triggered by the construction of a garage. Future land use is low-density neighborhood. And then there you can see where it's located, kind of north of Catron Boulevard and east of Mount Rushmore Road. Site plan showing the location of the proposed garage with a attached porch on it. One issue that did come up is that they're served by water, city water, and then there's a septic system, which is in this location. The line currently runs through where the building is going to be located, so as part of the building permit, they'll have to adjust where that service line goes before they can build the garage. Here we have an elevation showing what the proposed garage will look like. It does match in color and materials of the existing house. One difference being the material of the roof, which is metal, but they have indicated that they plan on changing the roof on the house to metal. And then showing the porch on that, what would be the east side of the garage. And here's an elevation showing the 16 feet 8 inches, that would be the height. The way the property sits, this is about 20 feet lower than the street. So really this is going to have a minimal impact, and it's set back from the front property line approximately 200 feet. So this will really not have an impact on the area or the looks of the property. And there we're looking into the property from Panorama Circle. You see there's the current driveway is gravel. Back in this area is where that proposed garage is going to go. And there's some trees on that west side of the property which will further buffer from the neighborhood. And a close-up into where this garage would be. I believe this raised area is where that septic is. Looking at along Panorama Circle, the adjacent properties, this is directly across the street. Closest property that's to the south, I did speak with the property owner there, and they did indicate that they were okay with the proposed garage, and then it would have a minimal impact on them. Again, along Panorama Circle, and there again, close up of the location, which is just north of the house. So with the two exceptions, so staff is recommending approval of the exception to allow the height of 16 feet 8 inches, as it's less than 20% increase, and it's going to have a minimal impact on the area. Staff is recommending, though, that the exception to waive the requirement to pave with hard surfacing the first 50 feet of the driveway be denied. It's something that as non-conforming driveways, as people build on their properties, it's triggered that they come in with hard surfacing. I think a lot of the properties on Panorama Circle have either asphalt or concrete. There are very few that have gravel, and as they expand in the future, they will be required to upgrade. And so to prevent tracking of mud onto the paved street or gravel or raising dust, we're recommending that that exception request be denied. But with that, we are recommending approval of the final plan development overlay to allow an oversized garage with the stipulations in the staff report, and the applicant and appears the property owner are here if there are any specific questions.
Thanks, Fletcher. Any questions for staff or the applicant on this one? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion.
I'm sorry, can I?
Okay. So the motion would be for the stipulations as noted, including denial of the exception to pave the first 50 feet and the other exceptions listed being granted. Okay, and Karen seconded that motion. And then the, Vince, I've got comments up from you, and I think the applicant's agent wanted to speak.
Can you go first?
Okay. If you could, once you're up at the microphone, please identify yourself with an address so we have it for our records.
Yes, hi, I'm Jessica, and I live at 1408 Panorama Circle. And I don't think that was a great summary, thank you for doing that, but I don't think I heard that we were going to maybe do recycled asphalt on the driveway, and that we weren't just going to lay it down, we were going to, wait for a hot day and have a big roller that goes over it to make it somewhat like in between concrete, it'd be somewhat hard for going over it. So I don't think, did you mention that, recycled asphalt? Okay, yes, that's what we're planning on doing there, so I was wondering if that would change your opinion.
Can I ask Public Works, is that an acceptable alternate? I feel like we've done that in past instances.
That's not considered a hard surfacing for
Okay.
the requirements in the past. Sometimes that's been allowed more in an industrial area with an exception where they argue like the heavy equipment would tear up asphalt or something like that.
Okay.
Could we do the first 50 feet concrete, I guess, and then recycled asphalt, sounds like? I mean, that's what, it's just 50 feet requirement.
Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, Vicki.
So that would eliminate the need for the exception. You don't have to do anything beyond the 50 feet. If you choose to do asphalt millings, fantastic, but you could do gravel beyond that. It's just the first 50 feet, and if you hard surface that with pavement or concrete, then you don't need that exception. So if you concur with that, we can acknowledge the applicant's withdrawal of that exception, and then certainly we'll work with you on what you want to do with the balance of the driveway, but it wouldn't be required that you hard surface it.
Okay.
Is that with your concurrence? Very good. Then that would be our friendly amendment to the motion makers, is that you acknowledge the withdrawal of the exception to waive the first 50 feet of pavement, and then the balance of the a motion stands.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Vince, then?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, that kind of solved a lot of my problems there, or my concerns. I mean, because we just approved the Scotland Hills subdivision, and it's going to be a lot busier up there. And so this is that 50 feet is extremely important. So thank you for that consideration and working that one out. So I really don't have anything else to say. Thanks.
Okay. Justin?
Thanks. I kind of just maybe my own curiosity for Public Works, though. So the asphalt millings, just what's the rationale behind that not being a hard surface?
It's essentially the same thing as gravel, other than it's asphalt that was milled up, so there's in some cases less dust, but it all depends on how it was milled up and the gradation of it. It may or may not have a little less dust, but it's not sealed, it's not impervious, it's basically like rock.
Okay.
You can roll it and make it somewhat firm, but it's still basically the same thing as gravel with some oil in it.
Okay, I can appreciate that. I just, it looked like the intent was to do that on the entire driveway. So I guess to me, doing the entire driveway in that versus 50 feet in a hard surface, what's better or worse, I guess. But it sounds like we may just go with the 50 feet, so that's fine. Okay, thanks.
Other questions or comments on this one? Although, I don't have a motion. Oh, we do have a motion. Sorry. Kurt made the motion. Karen seconded it. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I think that's our last item for today. Any staff items or other items?
I have two things.
Yeah.
The first is to identify that 4 of you have terms that are expiring October 1st. Kurt, Galen, and both Mikes. So if you're interested in letting the mayor know that you would like to continue serving on Planning Commission, if you could email me, I can forward that on to the mayor for his consideration. That would be great. And if we could get something within the next 10 days, that would be perfect. Thank you. And then I also wanted to let you know that on August 7th at 9 a.m. in this room is our next Coffee with Planners. I secured 2 topics. We're still working on our third one. Ken will be manning a table to discuss creating an ordinance on affordable housing. And then current planning will have a table to discuss needed revisions to the landscape ordinance. As you know, in Drive Around Town, we do hear some concerns that our landscape requirements are very slight, and we need to do something so that as we get new development, we have a improved landscape plan for the city. So we'll be looking at that again. We encourage as many of you to come as possible.
All right, thanks, Vicki. Any planning commissioners have any items for us? All right, I'd look for a motion to adjourn then. All right, Rachel made the motion.
Second.
And Karen seconded that motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.